Yes, I see. Oh, there it is. Oh,
I got that one. So there you
well,
go.
that's the good one. Yay, thank you.
This is the new one. This is
Yeah,
the one everybody needs to be getting like now. So good.
thank you.
All right, so guys, we will get started because there's a lot to cover and John is a wealth of knowledge. So just as a quick introduction, where this came from or why, how this came about. So WealthCo as a platform, what we're doing, and I just showed it up on the screen here. The intent for WealthCo is we have all these biohackers, and unfortunately, a number of these biohackers are all men, and they are not focused on some of the things that we've got going on as women. So WealthCo, the intention behind WealthCo is to bridge that gap between doctors, researchers, entrepreneurs, and health explorers like yourselves. So we're trying to build this ecosystem of women's health pioneers. And part of that is having these types of webinars, these types of Q&As, and these types of just open dialogues with experts. So we're very, very lucky. And Joe, thank you, because you are the reason why this happened, for us to be able to speak with John. So for folks who don't know Johanna, if you're in the UK, you have to meet her. You have to speak with her. She's fantastic. She herself had her own health history of coming back from a number of different disorders, a number of different health issues. And now she's teaching people on her own. So if you don't know her, if you don't follow her, absolutely must. PureJo is the name of the brand, is the name of the email, and the name of the URL. So PureJo.com. And yeah, so kind of where this all came from was Johanna also is on the UK radio show, and she had interviewed John before, and it's a really, really lovely discussion between the two of them. And John brings up a lot of really good points for females, from stress to hormones to what we could actually be doing in this time. So highly recommend, go onto YouTube, listen to that dialogue, because it's a wealth of information. And Joe just said, well, why don't we use this platform that we've got to maybe have John come and have a monthly series with us to discuss some of the things that he knows. Now, John, as most of you probably know, you probably know him from this book, but I think, which is Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. But what you may not know is that John is, the more that I read about you and the more that I see, it's one of those things where people become specialists and that's what they can live their life about. But John has become a specialist in so many different things. So it started, at 19, I believe, John, tell me if I'm wrong, you were with Transcendental Meditation. You became for 9 years, you apprenticed and became the personal assistant to Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. You also then decided, okay, well, coming from this celibate life, and following around within meditation, then you challenged yourself and said, I want to bring this information to people about relationships. And then from there, after the book became this massive success, then you also started looking into the actual supplements and the foods and the nutrition and the things that women and men can do, both from a hormonal standpoint as well as supplementation. So while John is kind of known for being this relationship expert, it's, to me, what I found really, really interesting is that you've become a specialist across the board, from relationships now into supplements. And that's what his latest book, Beyond Mars and Venus, has come about. So in 2017, the book that Joe is pulling up there is the one to look at. Really, really stuff, and not just from the relationship standpoint, but also from supplements and foods that you can be taking. John, what have I missed? What other things would you like to tell us about yourself?
Well, you summarized my life very nicely. I think that was very nice.
Super. So I think, again, we have, so right now, again, we are going to record this. So if anybody wants to see this in the future, it will be on WealthCo. And again, we're going to be having these monthly series with John, which we're really, really lucky to have. So just to kick started, this is going to be an open forum. If you do have questions, then please put them into the message. John has said that he's open to answering those questions. But just to kickstart us off, I think the first question is, right now, right, we're in this pandemic, we're in a complete changeover as well from men and women, and how we act, how we react, how we interact. What do you see as the most prominent health issue for women today, John?
Oh, our biggest challenge today when we're in quarantine and we're distancing, it's hugely traumatic for the physiology of women. Actual connection is a need. It's a need that men have, but women have a greater need for it. Particularly when you feel more independent. If you're a single woman today, it can be extremely stressful, extremely, because you're not connecting with your normal life. Generally speaking, for a successful relationship, I call it the rule of 80-20. 80% of your happiness needs to come from your life and 20% from your partner. But when you don't even have a partner, now having a partner, we'll get into that, that creates actually more problems too. But when you're single, what happens is we're used to our life stimulating all these different hormones in our body and brain chemistry and so forth. Different needs are being met, kind of like different vitamins. You know, if we have all the A, B, C, D, E, F, all the vitamins, our body in terms of vitamins is going to be healthier, right? And suddenly we've just taken out driving to visit friends, interacting with others, going into restaurants, experiencing a collective consciousness of the energy of other people. These are all basic needs that we're used to, and suddenly it's been taken away. That will cause, when you're not getting the complete stimulation that you need, your body, for a woman, doesn't make the right hormone balance. What you tend to make is more testosterone than estrogen and progesterone. So testosterone gets produced whenever you feel it's up to you and you're independent. I don't have what I need. I have to do it myself. Nothing wrong with testosterone. That's like a vitamin, but it's not the only vitamin. The other vitamins, progesterone for women is produced particularly when you're doing things that you enjoy doing, kind of for yourself. And there's two types of those behaviors that stimulate progesterone. One is me time, which is doing things for yourself, just because you want to do it for yourself. And then another one, which is interacting with friends and family and nature in a way that's for you as well. You're enjoying it. Not so much that you're serving, but that you're exchanging, that's fine. But there needs to be a sense more of, this is for me. I'm being nourished by this. And there's a place for giving selflessly. That's your testosterone. But testosterone, too much of it, inhibits the production of progesterone, and it inhibits the production of estrogen. And women particularly need this nice balance of progesterone and estrogen at different times of the month. And estrogen is stimulated when you're feeling, I have what I need. First of all, it's produced when you're feeling, I have a need and I can get that need satisfied. That's why often shopping makes women feel good. Not all women, most women. If you just go shopping, you just feel good. And you don't have to buy stuff, and you don't have to spend a lot of money either. You just have to look at, oh, I could have that, but no, I don't really want that. Oh, I could have that, but I don't really need that. It's getting in touch with what we want and what we need, is bringing us back to ourselves and feeling that we can have that. Okay, that's the key to it, which is when you have a need and you feel I can have it, then you feel love. It's hard to feel love when you don't feel need. You know, I give the example for that. It's a little confusing for some people. If I need food, we all need food. It's one of these basic needs. We also need love, but food's a little more concrete. So if you go for 2 days without food, then suddenly when you eat, you'll feel a lot of love for the food you just ate. It feels like, this is amazing. This tastes so good. You know, I occasionally fast, so I know that for a foundation of health, but also just to open your senses of appreciation. This feels so good. Also, even being in your home all the time, we really need to get out. I every day go for a drive in my car just so that when I come home, I can appreciate my home more. I was just watching Bill Maher last night, and he was saying, you know, isn't it great that we could all, you know, relax at home? Well, after a while, you get sick of relaxing at home. You want to go out, you go do your job, go out, be with people, go interact with nature, go into your garden, all these various things. Then you come home, it's a balance. So the home is not fulfilling if it's just there all the time, because it's only one vitamin. So we want to make sure we're getting a broad spectrum, and we'll discuss what women can do and men can do when they're stuck in the home as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, as we're sort of still in this time of very high stress, but we are kind of coming out of it. John, can you talk about the difference between men and women and how we handle stress and emotions differently? I mean, specifically, how does a woman deal with a man when he's come home and he's stressed? And how should a man deal with a woman's stress? And how should a woman deal with her own stress? You know, there's so many different compartments. Can you explain?
Yeah, I'll touch on some of those things, and you have to ask me some questions because you asked a lot of them. Okay, so that's good. That's a good direction to go on. So our books cover. So statistically, they did some measurements on women's stress levels and men's stress levels, and they found that when women come home from a job, their stress levels double. When men come home from a job, their stress levels go in half. So basically, women's stress levels tend to be much higher than men's in the home. So they analyze that. You know, there's a lot of ways to looking at that. You can look at it in a way which is kind of nice, and you can also just biological truth. You can also add, say, if you have a cynical point of view, you can say, oh, a woman's coming home to a man and her stress level goes up. But actually, single women, when they come home, their stress level doubles when they come home as well, according to the study. And a relationship can help you to lower that stress level. So let's analyze why, when they did this research in Europe on women's stress levels. On moderate stress, when we look at the biology, under moderate stress, women experience 8 times more blood flow to the emotional memory. So that means the amygdala starts getting triggered. That's your fight or flight response. At a low level, you'll get 8 times increase of blood flow going to your amygdala. Going to your amygdala, and then from your amygdala, it goes to your hippocampus. Your hippocampus is your memory. So suddenly when you feel stressed, your mind has a bias towards remembering every bad thing that's happened. So the other night I heard this noise. I didn't know what it was. So suddenly I had to get up and I go look around. What is this noise? I'd never heard it before. So I have to go hunting. That's called a bias for negativity. So if you're feeling stressed, you tend to look for reasons why you're stressed. That means you start being more critical, more analytical, more judgmental, less loving. I'll give you another example of that. If you were to come visit my house, you'd see it's really beautiful. But if you wanted to buy my house, you'd want to see the electric bills, the gas bills. You'd want to look under the house. You want to see if there's rats. You want to see if there's mold. You want to see if there's cracks. You want to see if there's leaks in the roof. You want to see if all the sinks work. Suddenly, that's called a bias towards negativity. You can't enjoy life when you have your bias towards negativity activated. So when you have this fight or flight response, the bias towards negativity will increase. And for women, you can measure 8 times more blood flow goes to that part of the brain that has a bias. Now, not that men don't have that part of the brain. It can be activated. It just doesn't get activated very easily in men. And it can be activated very easily in men if they argue with their wives. And that's because for women, if they express fight or flight response verbally to a man, if he's having sex with her, or they're not while they're having sex, but if they have a sexual intimate relationship, everything changes in a relationship when you allow someone to bring you to a higher level of fulfillment. You see, the whole world makes me happy, but my wife makes me happier. That's called physical intimacy, emotional intimacy in marriage. It's just a beautiful, beautiful gift. You can go higher if you have a good relationship, but you can be happy without that. But when you're in a relationship, you're allowed someone to see you naked, to come inside of you, to be one with you. So how they react to you causes an equal reaction inside of your brain. So those are mirror cells. Now we know that to be the case. When you're in fight or flight, your mirror cells turn on. And if you're having sex with someone, a sexual partner, your mirror cells turn on as well. So if you're in fight or flight and you're having an intimate relationship, they really turn on, which basically means your buttons get pushed. You take things more personally. You're more sensitive if your partner's ignoring you. somebody else doesn't look at you, you don't feel ignored, but your partner looks at you and then looks away and doesn't look back, then you feel ignored. So it's important that we understand some differences between men and women so we don't quickly take things personally. Now, if you say nothing's personal, then you don't have an intimate relationship. So taking things personally is intimacy. So we want to take things personally. And when we are upset with our partners or ourselves, we want to be able to step back for a moment and not take it personally. And what allows us to do that is to question our emotional reactions. Now, questioning your emotional reactions means, okay, I'm feeling my partner doesn't love me enough. Okay, so I feel ignored by my partner. You have to question, is that really true? Now, it's not true. You think it's true, but you're looking at, maybe it is true, but you have to start with, when did it start? It started long before it became a bigger problem. What I notice is all problems in relationships start little and get bigger and bigger and bigger. So if you have this feeling, my partner's ignoring me, then what happens is your mind takes that feeling, which may be true, accurate, and it says, oh, therefore he doesn't love me. And then once it goes, if he doesn't love me, what does that mean? Now, for some women, that would mean I can't ask for and get what I need, so I have to do it myself. For some women, that might mean, oh, he doesn't love me, I married the wrong man. For some women, that might mean, oh, he doesn't love me, I make too many mistakes, I'm too negative, I shouldn't ask for so much, I'm too needy. Various reactions to the faulty belief, he doesn't love me. Okay, so you start with he doesn't love me, and then we spiral out based on our own past, our own conditioning, our own fears and issues. But where it all starts is like a house of cards that we build. There's no foundation, okay? You have to look at, does he love you, does he not love you? You know, that little thing where you pull the flowers, does he love me, does he not love me? Just like so that's where Mars-Venus ideas come in really good, because why do you think he doesn't love you if he's ignoring you? Well, maybe he's ignoring you because he needs to do something for himself, and it's not about you at all. If your partner was, let's say you need help carrying a box. Oh, I can't carry this box. And your partner was recently in a car accident and he's in a wheelchair and he can't walk. He can't get out of his wheelchair. And so basically you say, oh, honey, would you help me carry this box? He says, well, I can't really get up right now. You say, well, if you love me, you would get out of the wheelchair. See, if you love me, get out of the wheelchair. Then he goes, but I can't. Okay. So we have to be realistic in our interpretations of reality. Otherwise, you could go, oh, he doesn't get out of the wheelchair, he doesn't love me, that means I'm not good enough, that means he's the wrong guy. So the brain goes into these reactions. So we have to question them all and realize that if you're not getting the support you need, if you're stressed, you're responsible. You're responsible. Situations are contributing, no doubt about it, but how you react is automatic. Well, how you respond is after you question your reaction. Is this really something I should continue thinking about?
So John, so can I just interrupt then? So how do we deal with that? The mind games that are playing. Is it communication? Is it purely just talking to our partner and asking, this is what I'm feeling, or explaining this is what I'm feeling. What are you? Because we're not mind readers. He's not, I'm not, whatever,
Yeah. Relationships are really tough when we're taking things personally, and why it's so difficult, why we would be great if we were mind readers, is if our partner would think and feel the way we do, but they don't. That's why we have so many problems. That's why the Men Are From Mars ideas are so helpful, is that one very common thing that's coming up a lot for couples. So I'm focusing on that chapter in my book called Men Go to Their Cave.
I love that one.
When men experience stress, their way of coping with stress is to temporarily forget what's bothering them. Do something to distract them from anything that would cause stress. Okay, so go turn away. So he needs some alone time. You see, when men are stressed, we cover this foundation. When men are stressed, their testosterone levels are too low. When women are stressed, their estrogen or progesterone levels are too low, or out of balance. Okay, so for women, it's more about balancing progesterone, estrogen, testosterone. It's balance. For men, it's about, do I have my testosterone? Do I not? And then it's about, if my estrogen is too high, my testosterone will go low. So simple way, feminine energy is female hormones. Masculine energy is male hormones. If I have too much feminine energy, my masculine energy goes down, and then I need to rebuild my masculine energy. So my automatic reaction is to disconnect. I have to disconnect. Disconnection, detachment, independence, aloneness stimulates testosterone.
For the
Okay,
male only, right? Not
so
for the woman, though. That's just for the male. That's not for the woman, right?
well, it helps men to cope with stress by going to their cave, by pulling
Yeah.
away from connection, from detachment, frees him from too much estrogen. Okay, that's one thing.
Yeah.
For women, her problem isn't too much estrogen. Her problem is not enough estrogen. So she needs connection. So the easiest connection would be just go connect with him, but he's going off to the cave. And she's used to not seeing him 80% of the time. So
Yeah.
at that time, he's been in his cave, he's out of the cave, and they're together. So she can generally get more connection. It's more available to him, to her. So she needs connection to boost up her progesterone and estrogen, find the right balance for her, whatever feels good. And how do you know you have the right balance? When you're feeling good, okay? That's it. You don't look at a test tube. You just go, am I feeling good? Or am I feeling stressed? If you're feeling stressed and you're a female, your testosterone levels are starting to rise too high, which means I have to do it myself. Just think about, reflect on when you're feeling not so happy, women. You're feeling, oh, I have to do it myself. And then you kind of go, there's too much to do and I can't do it. So can't get it all done. And that's pressure. It's just this pressure is on you. And that pressure, the way we respond to that pressure, if we don't understand the problem, is then we try harder to solve the problems. Or try to get it done, try to get it done. And that's actually going to increase the pressure, because the pressure ultimately comes biologically in your body. It comes from not feeling enough of your female hormones that release pressure. So one of the ways it's not the only way, but one of the powerful ways to come back to female hormones is to talk about what you're feeling. Connect with somebody. Talking about what you're feeling, talking allows people to connect with you, right? If I'm talking, I'm letting you in to hear my thoughts right now. Okay, so when you talk, you're letting people come into you. So you're connecting with me. When you share deeper emotions, particularly if you share embarrassing emotions, and we all have embarrassing emotions all the time, particularly if you're taking something personally. It's embarrassing. I'm making such a big deal out of this. We don't want to see that. We tend to want to justify everything we feel, if it's negative, as some big problem. But when we look back at it a year later, that wasn't a big deal. Matter of fact, most couples can't even tell me what their arguments are about because they're such small deal. But when they're involved with it, they have all this strong emotion. There's that funny story of the two families that were feuding forever, and they forgot how the feud started. The escalation has happened. They don't even know what started it. Well, so basically, they were too embarrassed to look at their side of a problem. There's always, when there's a problem, there's two sides of it. Men are embarrassed to look at it. Women are embarrassed to look at it. So we tend to blame out. We blame out because we don't want to blame ourselves. Because if we were to blame ourselves, then that would mean we don't deserve more. And the truth is, we do deserve more. There's nothing wrong with deserving more, but you don't always get it until you figure out how to get it. And blaming your partner is the worst thing you can do. So I know where you're leading me. You like me to say the bottom line is, when women talk about their feelings, they're letting somebody come in, and that produces the female hormones. That is a very powerful female generator. So you can get on the phone, you get on YouTube, you get anywhere, not YouTube, but interact with people. When you're interacting with people, you share what's inside of you, and then what you get is just a positive response. You don't get somebody judging you or criticizing you or telling you why you shouldn't feel that way. See, that's what almost every man instinctively, and a lot of women too, because women are now on their male side, they will immediately jump in when you're upset and tell you why you shouldn't feel that way. You shouldn't feel that way. A woman just wrote to me today, and she was wanting some words of advice because she's going to go over the border to Canada and to be there for the birth of her child. And it's hard to get over that border, and they make you go into quarantine in a hotel for 12 days or something like that when you get there. And she's going to be on the airplane, and she does have some compromised health issues. It's like me, if I was going on an airplane, I don't even care. I mean, I'm so healthy. we're talking about 0.1% of the population that gets really sick. Okay, so I'm not 0.1% of the population. Okay, I'm at the top curve of being healthy. I'm happy. I'm fulfilled. I eat a good diet. I exercise every day. I meditate. I have perfect blood pressure. I'm 69 years old. I don't have a care in the world. And so put that to the side. She's not that. So she has concerns. So, you know, she said, what can I do? And I said, okay, just make sure you wash your hands, you don't touch your face, basic advice that they're giving. And then I said, of course, she's very afraid. And I'm not going to say, don't be afraid. What I'm going to say is remember that you're on an important journey to be there for your daughter's birth, your granddaughter. This is a great, great thing that you're doing. And most important, every moment, remember to smile. You're doing the right thing. Smiling. Remember to smile. It's hard to be anxious when you're smiling.
Hard to be anything when you're smiling, but just happy.
Yes, that's right. Just remember to smile. Remember why you're doing this. Remember where you're going. And she's going to be fine.
I think fear and anxiety, especially in these times, are huge, very powerful emotions to men and women. And it's difficult for us to control those sometimes and bring out the positive. But we are what we think we become, right? So the more negative.
What happens is when we focus, as soon as you start to feel stress, it's like a snowball going down that gathers more snow as it goes. As soon as you start to feel stressed, what happens is you start having this bias towards, okay, looking at what the problems are to protect you. And then you keep looking and you keep looking. And the more you look, you become irrational, you see, because fear, I like this definition of fear, F-E-A-R, forgetting everything's all right. And I know people can tell me, oh, no, it's all dangerous and everything. I say, okay, that's the world you live in. I'm not afraid of dying either, by the way. Death is not something I'm afraid of. So I'm not afraid of that either, although I will behave responsibly because I have children and grandchildren. And at the same time, I've created for me in my life, because I have concerns, I know I will die one day. I've also created trusts and so forth for them to help them as best I can. I'm not responsible for them, but I want to help them as best I can. So basically, I just handled a few of the practical considerations about when you die, because, 2 years ago, my wife died. It's a possibility. People die, so I made sure I'm making sure everything is fine when I pass, but I'm not afraid of dying. And I don't think I'm one of these guys, because I'm a biohacker, at least 132 years. I get the whole rundown. I got all the tests on my body to see I'm so healthy, see I'm so vibrant. I'm a young guy, according to them, and according to my testosterone levels as well. For men, one of the problems for men today is their testosterone levels go so low, and they're so busy working, they're not feeling successful, then they don't take enough time to recover. It's either recovery time or they're not feeling successful. Really, very successful people often die early because they don't take time for themselves, time to recover, time to meditate, time to do things you enjoy. Sometimes when our presidents go out and play golf, everybody goes, but they're the president, they should be working. And I said, no, you don't understand. They all play golf because that's the way they can relax. It's a time to forget their problems. It's like going on vacation. You come back, you're ready to go 100%. This is more important for men than for women. What's important for women is this experience of safety, support, security, somebody's present for them, understanding what they're going through, validating their feelings, demonstrating caring. All of those behaviors say to you that you're not alone, that you're loved, that you are safe, and then you don't go into fight or flight. But boom, as soon as you're in fight or flight, what happens is negative emotions start coming up. If someone can hear those negative emotions without buying into them, okay, now let's say a way of understanding how to listen without buying in. Somebody's upset with their boss, and I say, oh, tell me about it. And they tell me about it. Buying into it would mean, oh, you should quit. Oh, you should do this. Not buying into it is trusting this person will come up with the solution they need, unless they're asking me what they should do. But if they're feeling negative, I wouldn't even give them advice. I'd say, well, let's keep talking about this till you feel good about it. Then we'll figure out what to do. But how can I feel good with a boss like that? I say, well, you can always feel good. That's your ability. You have to find that within yourself. And then you can say, this is the wrong boss for me, the right boss for me. Same thing with a relationship. So many people gather evidence to justify ending a relationship, to justify why I don't love this person, where they're not taking responsibility to find the love. And it doesn't mean that they should be with this person, but you shouldn't have to have a long list of negative messages, negative experiences to justify leaving. You can love someone and leave. You can feel, oh, we're not the right person for each other. Oh, I bring out the worst in you. But if you end a relationship feeling victimized, you tend to repeat that relationship again and again and again until you realize how you contributed to the problems, how you contribute. And sometimes you contribute to problems by giving your love to the wrong person. That's also true, but get that you contributed by giving love to the wrong person. I'll give you an example of that, more not relationship wise, but I remember when I bought this super expensive car and parked it in a certain place and came back and somebody had taken a key and just keyed the whole car. And my little daughter was in the car at the time. And she didn't know what happened, but it was a woman that came by and did that. And I could say, oh, I'm so mad at her. Or I could realize, some people are just mad at rich people. And why do they have so much money? And rich people are evil, or rich people are bad. So I could let it go. But at the same time, I had to pay $1,000 to fix my car. And so I decided I sold the car. I said, why tempt people into looking at me as being so rich? And that was wisdom for me. So now I have 3 cars. And I have a really fancy car, but I don't drive it everywhere. I only drive around it. I don't park it anywhere. It's a Bentley, convertible Bentley.
Very nice. Good choice.
And I love to drive my Bentley around, but I never park it anywhere. I just park it at home. And then I have my practical car, which is a humble Mercedes convertible. And then I have the little Tesla. So my environmentally safe person says, my environmental side needs a Tesla, but my fun part of me has my little Mercedes convertible. And then my
John,
really fun part of me has the Bentley.
Sorry to interrupt, John. This meeting unfortunately is going to end, and I just sent another link out, and then we can continue the conversation because it unfortunately limited us to 40 minutes. So I'm sorry to
It was good. Are we back on?
We are back on, and basically in the message I just sent it to everybody. So basically everybody has now rejoined. So we can continue.
Okay, so my point, I was just wandering off and telling some stories. It is my Sunday after all. But the point of this is things happen to us and we can recognize, am I contributing to this or am I just a victim? And unless you recognize in the end of a relationship or painful moments in your past, how you contributed to the problem, then you always feel afraid that it will happen again. Your fear levels increase, your trauma level increases because you don't know how you contributed. So we come back to, again, what men can do for women, what women can do for men, is when a man's in his cave, a woman can understand, try to remember he's from Mars. They do a different thing when they're feeling unhappy and are stressed. And it's not about you, it's about his recovery. Just like you have a need to talk about your feelings with somebody else and feel loved and supported and to feel heard and to feel respected. But you can't look to him at that time. He's in his wheelchair temporarily. He will get up and come out. But if he gets up to come out and he sees a woman who's mad at him for being in the cave, he tends to go back into the cave. So you want to welcome him back because he hasn't done anything bad to you. But if you treat someone like they've done something bad to you, then they get defensive. Wait a second, I'm not doing anything bad. I'm just doing my thing. But it's easy for women to misinterpret. Why? Because most women, not all women, everything I say is not all women, but women who are more on their male side will relate more to the male examples. But generally, they also relate to some degree to the female side. So generally speaking, when a woman is mad at a man, she stops talking. I won't talk to you.
Sure.
She punishes him by not talking to him. Well, I'm not going to let you don't love me enough. You don't deserve to hear my feelings. I'm not going to talk with you. Or or I want you to know I'm really mad at you. So the way I'm going to let you know I'm really mad at you is not talk to you. So this need, this withholding of love, this punishing, this lack of interest in making him happy, so to speak, that is her withdrawing, detaching from him. Well, so when he detaches from her, she immediately thinks, oh, he must be mad at me. And then you spiral off from, what did I do? And why doesn't he love me? Or is there somebody else, or so forth? Has nothing to do with whether he loves you or not. Even when a man, a little issue that comes up that can cause problems for some people's relationships is you'll be in Hawaii, and woman walks by a model in a string bikini, and the guy's not supposed to look. Everybody looks. I mean, come on, this is beauty. This is a flower, and women are beautiful and men are visual. So naturally his eyes are going to go over there. But does that mean he doesn't love his wife? Has nothing to do with whether he loves his wife. If you're a woman in a beautiful museum and you look at the art and you go, oh, look at that painting, and oh, look at that painting, does that mean that you don't love me? No, it doesn't mean that at all. So he's looking at this woman and looking at this woman, and maybe even he has a fleeting thought of, gee, what would sex be like with her? That's because men think about sex a lot, but then it's gone. He doesn't even remember her. He can't remember her. I don't remember I've had a lot of sex with women in my life, and I don't remember them all. It's gone.
A different scenario though is porn, right? Porn is different.
Well, porn, you really forget. Okay, porn, you move on from one thing to another. But the point you're asking about is looking is very different from engaging. Yes. Okay, so engaging in that, it really throws relationships off balance. And, a lot of things have happened in our world today, which is the new normal, like normalizing behaviors that really are inappropriate. Not that you're should go to jail, but they're inappropriate. And we've normalized those behaviors, particularly our politicians. Okay, we've normalized this kind of stupidity of arguing back and forth. I'm reminded of a 60s song, which is, if everybody's right, no, if everybody's wrong, then nobody's right. We've gotten this huge polarity, just like couples fighting back and forth. We've got to come back to love. And if people don't know how to find love, we will never find that harmony. And our politicians are really a reflection of what's going on in our personal lives and our inability to embrace that which is different from our point of view and find compromise and find harmony. It's very hard to do. And the reason it's so hard to do is we're like, our stress levels are so much higher. We're like on edge all the time to take things personally, to take offense. There's an old Chinese proverb, which is to take offense is to offend. If I say something and you go, how could you say that? And what do you mean, how can I say that? I love you. I care about you. It's offending to take offense. And yet the person who's taking offense doesn't see it that way. These are stress reactions whenever you're in fight or flight. Now, we were coming back to the question about coming home and what a man can do for a woman, what a woman can do for a man, and all that good stuff. When you're in a fight or flight reaction, you're not capable of being loving. Okay, you're in a wheelchair. Okay, you can't expect people to be loving or rational in a wheelchair. Now, more so, you can't expect a man to be. Our male side is our logical, rational side. And our female side is our loving, forgiving, accepting side. So when men are out of balance, they may sound logical, but they don't have any love. They're missing their love part. And when women are feeling a lot of negative emotions, they lose a lot of their logic. So what happens is they focus on things that aren't really the problem as opposed to what the solution is. Because, if you ask a lot of men, what's your biggest complaint about women, is that women complain too much, So I have a funny story. I always would start out my longer seminars. I used to have a ranch and do 5-day seminars, and couples are all there. And I start out putting them in different rooms, and I have the men, we discuss relationships, and they all write on the board their complaints. And we have these papers you write on. and the men would write their complaints, and the women would write their complaints, and then the time's up, and we go in, we bring the complaints in, and men have one sheet, and women have 10. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's my business as a therapist. 90% of the people that come to me are women, because they will actually pay to have somebody listen to their complaints. And complaints are really negative emotions. They're hidden behind a complaint is just a request. But when we're in fight or flight, we don't know how to request. We're in fight or flight, we have to recognize biologically, we're looking at brain hacking here, okay? If you're in fight or flight, you have negative emotions, your prefrontal cortex starts turning off. Okay? Everything that allows you to have control in your life, to be an open-hearted person, to be able to hear another point of view, to not take things personally, that everything's about you, but to recognize people have their issues. You know, a child takes everything personally. Okay, so you're a little child and your parents are upset. You feel like, what did I do to make my parents so upset? When I was a young teacher, if somebody left the room, I felt like maybe I said the wrong thing. But now I know, they probably have to go to the bathroom. Or if I go too long on a lecture, some people will sneak out of the room, and you find out later, well, they had babysitters, they had to go, but everybody else really wanted to be there, and they would have liked to have been there. So how do we interpret reality is constantly determining our stress reaction. Once that stress reaction occurs, for women, what they need most is to be able to generate feelings of progesterone and estrogen. Estrogen is stimulated whenever you depend on someone for something. So you're a woman, you're in a relationship, or you're single at home right now, go online and take a class. When you take classes where you learn something that's relevant to your wishes, what will make you happier, what will help you be healthier, what will make you more beautiful, what will teach you how to be more loving, what will help you manage your life better, what will make your garden better. These are all sort of nurturing activities that if you learn something to become more nurturing, learn something to be more loving, learn something to be happier, not to make money. I'm not focusing on money. You focus on money, you're on your testosterone side. And not that you shouldn't take classes on how to make money, but nothing wrong with that, but we're talking about how to lower your stress levels. Lowering your stress levels is definitely going to be learning new things that have to do with your more nurturing side, but also what makes you happy. Now, men on the other side, they need to learn things, particularly if they don't have a partner. They're going to learn something that puts them in the prefrontal cortex that will give them more power. Power is the part of us that's masculine. The ability to contribute is power. The ability to make a difference is power. The ability to follow through and achieve your goals is power. The ability to overcome adversity is power. If you do it cool, calm, and collected, like a martial artist. So this is, a role model for men. They don't have that role model. They think a powerful man is angry and his chest is puffed up and he's threatening. And somehow that's powerful. That's weakness. That's weakness. If you're a monkey, it's power. If you're a human, it's seen as weak. You're not trusted. Nobody wants to be with you. You will not find the love that you need. And if you're married, your wife will shut down to you. And if she's listening, she's probably saying, oh, I don't relate to all these women who want to talk about their feelings. I don't want to talk about my feelings. Well, yeah, because if you did talk about your feelings, your husband would belittle you and make you wrong and shut you down. Or maybe that your brother did that. Or maybe your father did it to your mother. So along the way, you learned that you shouldn't do that. If you do that, that's weakness. That makes you unlovable. It's not safe to do that. And so your estrogen levels will be low. Your testosterone levels will be higher. You'll have a drive towards making more testosterone. It doesn't actually mean your testosterone levels, if you went and did the test, would be so high. Because when you make testosterone, you can also be using it up. Sometimes you make more, but usually you make it and you use it up because you're overcoming some problem. So it gives you the energy to overcome that problem. And then you feel satisfied and good about yourself, particularly as a man, you come home and you detach in order to rebuild that testosterone. The problem for men, and this is a tricky thing that's happening now that's not in my books, is that cave time, generally speaking, will make a man feel better and more loving and open his heart. It rebuilds his testosterone. But if a man doesn't work hard, then resting doesn't rebuild testosterone. If I'm not being challenged by work every day, challenged by life every day, overcoming adversity throughout the day, if I'm not doing that, that makes testosterone and uses it up, then I won't rebuild it. The body says, oh, well, if you're not out there using it, we're not going to make it. So interesting. So it's a cycle for men of having to make it and use it, and then relaxing and rebuilding it. So men aren't out there making it. So they'll go to their cave and they won't come out because they don't know. They don't realize cave time doesn't fully work if you don't also go out of the cave and work. So we don't have our work for many men. And even though I can do these talks and whatever, I'm so grateful I can do that. I'd go crazy if I couldn't do part of my work. But another part of my work is literally getting in a car and driving to the airport, going through security, making sure the schedule's right, making sure I know where I'm going, getting on the plane, occupying myself throughout the plane ride, getting there, finding the hotel, who am I supposed to connect with? You know, all of those are little problems. And everybody has them. I'm not saying, oh, I have so many problems. I'm just saying that the whole time I'm on my own, making solutions, solving problems. Suddenly that's not in my life. I'm on vacation here. Normally my you know, when we're having normal life, we go to Hawaii, 7 days is my limit. I get island fever. You know, I got to get back and do something with my life. I'm not here just to sit around, and my kids all want to stay longer. Not me. I got to work. I mean, that's my mission. Then I can go on vacation, and some people can do vacation longer. You know, many men, they spend their life working, not giving themselves enough recovery time, and then they retire. And they say, now I finally get to do what I want to do. Well, they do what they want to do. Their testosterone goes down, because whenever you do what you want to do and you enjoy yourself, have fun, your estrogen goes up. See, that's the fun part. Women, you're the fun part of life. That's why we like you so much. We're a bunch of men, we get bored with each other unless we're in danger. If we're in danger, we want to go out and, you know, disconnect with our love feelings. We go out into fighting and all that. But when you start to relax, you go, where's the joy of life? It's a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have, that's amazing. I love it. And do you have any specific ideas? Because I think part of what you've seen is supplements and things that we can be taking as women specifically during this time of stress.
Oh,
Besides,
yeah.
I mean,
Biohackers.
learning is incredible, but from a biohacking and supplement standpoint,
Now,
would you
from
recommend
a biohacking point of view, all that I said, this is my belief, all right? If you have the perfect biohacking, nutritional support, excellent super remedies to protect your body from getting sick, but you sit in a dark room with no light and don't talk to anybody, you'll get sick. You need to have this loving stimulation. So it's not just the nourishment and the nutrients in the food. It's you get all of that's the foundation. It's the building blocks. Then you got to use it, and you got to love. They both go hand in hand. The problem is if you don't have the building blocks and you say, okay, I heard John talk, I'm going to try all this, it doesn't work. Behavioral strategies don't work if you don't have the building blocks to generate the brain chemistry. So one of the key factors for stress levels, it's true for men, double it or maybe make it 4 times more for women. Because the emotions, when you have that strong emotional reaction inside, to keep you calm, your brain becomes depleted in serotonin. Serotonin calms the brain. The brain gets excited, serotonin calms it. So you easily become depleted in serotonin. That's why a guy can come home after a stressful day and he's just like got plenty of serotonin because he didn't have a lot of emotions during the day, negative emotions during the day. So he's like couched on the couch and she says, we got to do this. We got to do this. He said, don't worry about it. No big deal. We'll do it tomorrow. You got to do the taxes. Oh, it's not until April 15th. He can put off things. He can relax because his brain serotonin says everything's okay. As long as he stays out of that estrogen negative emotions thing, then he can have lots of serotonin. He tends to run low on dopamine. So he gets bored by life easily and needs his addictions and so forth. Otherwise, particularly if he's not having great sex. You know, people all look at what are the solutions for addictions. Great sex satisfies all of them. But that's another subject. We can do that another time, how to create great sex. But that was just a side thing. I know for me, when I'm having regular great sex, my tendencies for addictions is much less. Now, I do have I'm a like addictive personality, and my addiction is graham crackers. Fortunately, it's not like a bad thing, but I gave it up 20 years ago. But the other night, I was noticing that, again, being in this COVID environment, I was watching the news, and which I don't watch much of the news. The news is a major stress producer, whether you're aware of it or not. Because here I am seeing a problem on TV, and I'm sitting there in my chair doing nothing. So the body feels powerless. And so so the way I cope with that, the way I noticed I was coping with it the other day is I got up and I started hunting. Okay, so now I'm hunting, and what am I hunting for? I went right to the cupboard where 20 years ago in that cupboard, I had graham crackers. Now, see, when I was a child growing up, my parents were all into yoga and everything and spirituality. And this is back in the 50s. And I was a baby learning, 3-year-old doing yoga. And we had all the wellness stuff, no sugar in the house at all. My dad would travel. But when he was gone, my mother would bring out the graham crackers. Graham crackers were the health food cookie. So we could have that. So my brain remembers it. So whenever my dopamine level starts to go down, okay, which my pleasure level goes down in life, my brain will go into, give me my graham crackers, must have my graham crackers. Now, for some people, they're addicted to playing porn. Oh my God, this is the real pandemic. Okay, pornography. Males now are addicted to porn. It's so addicting. I wrote a book on this. And what was that book called? 2 books. One is The Boy Crisis, and that talks about our porn addiction. And then another one, which is Staying Focused in a Hyper World, which is about brain function and ADD. So a major contributor and cause, it's a result of and a cause of ADD in males, ADHD, is, we see it. So many boys have this ADD thing going on. Girls have some of it, but more boys. And it shows up differently in boys and girls. But it's what ADD is really is the dopamine deficiency, okay, an inhibited dopamine function. So let me give you an example. They say, okay, ADD child can't focus on the teacher. But ironically, put that ADD child on a computer game and they can be totally focused. Because the computer game is relevant. It's giving them all of the dopamine stimulators, which is danger, achievement, reward, loud noises, bright colors, often women in there, suddenly sex, achievement, points, accomplishments, death, dying, rebirth, all that stuff is dopamine stimulators. They figured it out to make those games addictive for kids. They just stay at it and stay at it. So here's a kid who can't listen to the teacher. He can go there. Now that's called high dopamine stimulation. That's what porn is. Porn is one of the highest non-chemical dopamine stimulators. So think of it like cocaine. Now, easy example with cocaine, and sugar is a little bit like cocaine, but cocaine much more potent. It produces a huge amount of dopamine. Then what happens, it's like your brain bounces back to that and says, oh, if you're going to give me so much dopamine, then I'm going to get rid of the dopamine receptors. You lose 30% of your body's ability to experience pleasure after one use of cocaine. Now, that was a study done 30 years ago where they started looking at how the brains work. That the capacity, 30% of your dopamine capacity goes away. And already you were, usually when people have low dopamine, they're looking for high dopamine stimulation. And so now you looked online because you're feeling bored, restless, depressed. Go online. There's a naked woman who your subconscious mind thinks she really wants to have sex with you. Clearly, she doesn't want to have sex with you. But to the subconscious mind, which is like a 3-year-old monkey brain, if you see a naked woman, you get turned on because she says, you're so amazing, John, that I'm going to take off all my clothes and I want to come close to you. See, that's the ultimate dopamine testosterone stimulator, is a woman who wants to have sex with you. So here are these women, the subconscious mind reacts, and massive pleasure is produced, because nature always wants to reward you for having sex, because then you make more babies and evolution continues on. So this is just biological urges. So you see that, you suddenly have this super high dopamine level get produced. And the reason why it's super high is because it's digital. See, one thing would just be a prostitute. That's a super high, more so than a real relationship, because you don't have any love. See, love balances testosterone, keeps it, and also love balances dopamine. Dopamine is danger. So love says there's no danger. That's why couples fall into this trap of being comfortable. We love each other, we're at ease with each other. There's no passion, because they don't understand the communication skills that will stimulate testosterone and dopamine in men and stimulate estrogen and serotonin in women. We don't have that knowledge of biohacking. And I know you asked me about the brain, so I'm about to give you the information. When your brain is overstimulated by danger, and this whole COVID virus, if you're watching the news a lot, you're addicted to that. A lot of people are addicted to it. Oh, so many people are watching the news, or you're addicted to shopping. A lot of things, we're getting anything that gives us pleasure, we grab onto it, and that becomes a high dopamine stimulator. That then desensitizes dopamine receptor sites. And when that happens, then we crave more, we feel more empty, we feel more lost, we feel less purposeful, life has less meaning, and we're depressed or angry, upset. So what's happening is desensitizing of the dopamine receptor sites, which inhibits the dopamine and serotonin function in the brain. Tends to cause ADD more in boys, tends to cause depression more in girls. So what balances that balance of dopamine and serotonin in the brain is a mineral called lithium. Now, we know that the most extreme case of dopamine serotonin imbalance is bipolar. One day you think you're God, the next day you're depressed and you want to kill yourself. So you go up, down, up, down. So that's what's happening to people right now. But it's the stock market. I mean, look at the stock market. Up, down, up, down. It's our world right now. Up, down. It's extreme. Now, what we want, life is normally nice little waves, okay, nice wave. But now it's become these like sharp teeth, going way up, going down, or staying stuck down, or staying stuck in denial. And let me give you an example of denial and how it hurts relationships. It's common. A lot of men come to me and they say, you know, my wife is so negative. She's so complaining. Nothing I do satisfies her. She's in a bad mood. She's just not the happy woman I married. You know, I don't want to be with her. And I said, what about you? He says, I'm loving, you know, I'm happy in my life. I think everything's great. I never make a big deal out of anything. I love her, but you know, I wish she would be more positive. I don't know if I can be with such a negative person. She brings me down. And I said, so you're really love it? You love her? And she's, yeah. He said, you sound really negative. Everything you said, you're like so negative. I don't think if your daughter was sick with the flu, you'd treat her that way. Hey, come on, give it, you just, he says, yeah, but whatever I do, it doesn't work. I said, because what you do doesn't work. Listen to yourself. What you do, nothing I do works. And so I'm telling you, that's because nothing you do works. It's not her, it's you. See, people don't see that. When they see, oh, whatever I do, it doesn't work, they go, it's my partner's fault. No, it's his fault. It's what he's doing isn't working. He needs to show a little compassion, a little empathy, a little understanding, and then she can rise out of it. You know, here's the basic message that I repeat over and over is we can't make our partners happy, but we can certainly make them unhappy. Trying to make them happy actually many times makes them unhappy because you're doing the wrong thing. Now, what can a partner do for you besides do the wrong thing? They can create a safety which allows you to find your way back to happiness. Either way, she can create a safety for him to do his cave thing. He can create a safety to support her in doing the things that she loves to do, and to not minimize whatever she's feeling and thinking if she's talking to him, and to manage your anger carefully, men. Because what men don't recognize and women don't know, as soon as a man is angry, you should not talk to him. And so, you know, what's happening in America right now is a lot of violence at home. Domestic violence has dramatically gone up. I was talking to the police. They wanted me to give some talk to their people. All domestic violence starts with a lot of arguments. It starts with talking. Talking when your heart is not open doesn't work. I'll say it again. Talking when your heart is not open doesn't work. Now, if my wife's heart is not open and I'm really skilled at listening, I can open her up. That's if I'm skilled at listening and my heart is open. Most men are not skilled in listening. And if a man is stressed, he becomes stressed as soon as his wife gets upset. If she's upset, he mirrors that back. Now, for my wife, if she gets upset, I go, oh, I'm the solution to her problem. What is that solution? Don't say anything, and soon she'll feel better. Ask these special questions, and soon she'll feel better. So I am like a confident fireman. I know how to put out the fire. Most men, they don't know how to put out the fire. They think just, you know, telling her shouldn't feel that way, she's wrong for feeling that way, is going to help. But stand back for a moment. When did anybody feel better when somebody told you you were wrong? Who feels better then? But we do it over and over. Why do we do it? Are we like stupid, foolish? That's just a part of our brain. It's not stupid and foolish. It's not educated. It's the 3-year-old. It's the conditioned brain. It's whatever your parents did when they were stressed. When you're stressed, you will do the same thing, and you can't help it unless you see the storm coming and put on a jacket. You know, if it's a tornado, find the special room. You know, you got to let it pass. You prepare for it. But people just expect our partners, you know, everything should be fine if they love us, and we don't see how we are part of the problem. So if my wife is a cold wind, I just put on a jacket. That's it. You know, if my wife is really hot, I get to take off my jacket. So it's all, we adapt to each other by understanding. One is, if you imagine your partner was doing their best at all times. 2, that they truly love you. And 3, they need your help. And your help is not to fix or change them. Help them find their way. Then what can happen? This is the amazing thing about relationships. Is if my wife is happy and I'm happy, I can make her happier. And she can make me happier. We can go from as much as you can get on your own to all the way higher. But to do that, you need this balanced dopamine and serotonin function in the brain. And the mineral that does it, that's most important. This is like the cheapest supplement you can buy online. and particularly for women, you'll notice a difference right away if you're stressed. It's to take alkalizing minerals in your brain. Now, what are the alkalizing minerals for your brain? They are zinc, magnesium, potassium, calcium, and lithium. The key to this is you need, what's missing most in our brains is lithium. Why? Because when you're stressed, lithium is used up faster. You don't need very much. You need more of the other things. You need little tiny bit of lithium, but it goes very quickly when you have intense experiences, arguments, you have eat a bad diet, eat too much sugar. You know, sugar gives you massive pleasure. And I'm not against a little sugar here and there. Okay, so a little dessert, fine. But it's when you start consuming, you know, the processed carbs, keeps your blood sugar goes really high. You feel really good. When you feel really good, not only are you desensitizing dopamine receptors, so later you won't feel really good. And then you'll crave feeling really good again. And then you won't feel good. And you're too much on a swing. What happens, that swing starts happening because intensity uses up your lithium very quickly, deplete it. So it doesn't take a lot of lithium to fix it. Now, if you know much about lithium, you know that psychiatrists used to give it to people who are bipolar, and they stopped because there is side effects from taking lithium, because they were giving people 500 times the dose. So when I say lithium, some people have understood that they stop because it has side effects. They would think, oh, I don't want to take something with side effects. But salt, if you take 500, it's just a salt. If you took 500 times the dose of salt that your body requires, you get sick. If you took 500 times the dose of magnesium, you will die. You will dehydrate instantly. If you have 500 times the amount of calcium, you'll have osteoporosis. too much is not a good thing. The right amount is what works. So
What's the
lithium
dosage that you
orotate,
usually ask?
Hans Nieper, Dr. Hans Nieper in Germany discovered lithium. He discovered delivery systems. And orotic acid is a substance in mother's milk, and you bind it with minerals, alkalizing minerals, they will carry them right into the brain. And so when you bring these minerals into the brain shifts like night and day. Because if you've been chronically stressed and I just had a fight or whatever, you're depleted in those minerals. And so the brain just doesn't work right. As soon as you give the brain what it needs, it will kick right into gear, assuming your intention is to be a loving person, and you're trying your best and all that. Then you just need that building block. And we're talking 2 days. People notice a dramatic shift with little children that are hyperactive, whatever, 2 days. And they're more cooperative, and they're asking you questions, and they're listening to what you say. I mean, we're talking switches from on and off if you have a life which is basically nurturing and supportive. If you took somebody off the street and they don't have a life which is nurturing and supportive, the minerals aren't going to have as big effect. You've got to create a context where they have support and they feel education and so forth. But we all have these amazing lives and we're depressed. Why is that? Because an amazing life gives you opportunities to get what you want. And when you get what you want, you get lots of pleasure, freedom, high dopamine, kabang. Now you have these mineral depletions in the brain. So since this is biohacking, and if you just look at these I call them super minerals, they're alkaline minerals. If you look at what they do, lithium regulates the production of dopamine and serotonin in your brain. Too much dopamine, let's kick in some serotonin. Not enough serotonin, too much dopamine, let's bring in more serotonin and balance it out. Okay, so it's a balancing thing. And then when your brain chemicals go into balance, helps your cortisol levels go down, your hormones can come into balance. Now also, if you do your hormones by behaviors, your hormones start coming into balance, but if you don't have the minerals in the brain, it doesn't work. So the lithium balances, calcium produces dopamine, magnesium produces serotonin, zinc is necessary to protect the neurons from all the mercury toxicity and so forth. If you don't have zinc, you've got overstimulated toxicity in your cell. So you've got your zinc and your potassium hydrates. Make sure that your cells are hydrated. So for every neuron requires those 5 minerals to be working in sync. Plus what it also, besides the minerals, we're complicated, we're holistic beings. Those are the minerals that I see run out very quickly. But for them to work fully, you also need to eat your greens. Greens has vitamin K2 in it. Ideally, if you don't eat greens, then you would want to have butter from organic cows that eat grass. They have to eat organic grass. And then their butter has vitamin K2 in it, or you eat lots of salads, I'm having a big salad every day to make sure I get my vitamin K2. Very important you don't need a lot, but you just need to get your basic amount, and you need sunshine. So sunshine produces vitamin D. Without vitamin D, that calcium cannot go into the neuron and make dopamine. And without vitamin K2, the calcium will not come out of the cell, allowing magnesium to then produce serotonin. So it's kind of a beautiful mixture of making sure you're getting sunshine. And if you're not, take high doses of vitamin D. I'm talking high doses. 20 minutes at least of good sunshine if you're fair skinned a day. If you're not getting that, they say, and when I read about this, that almost every American has low vitamin D levels to such an extent that they lowered the level of what a healthy person requires. If you look at somebody who actually lives, in a equator-like place where they have a lot of sunshine, they're out in the sun, their vitamin D levels are super higher than what we say is the daily requirement. So even to get close to that daily requirement of a natural requirement of somebody who lives in the sun, which humans used to live in the sun all the time, you'd need to take 10,000 IUs a day. And you'd want to make sure you're eating lots of greens or taking vitamin K2. So 10,000 IUs will not be too much. I remember Dr. Osmond making a big deal about everybody should do 1,000 IUs. And then he said, oh, I've found out my D levels are too low. So now I'm going to take 2,000, Well, take 10,000. It hasn't bothered anybody. There's no side effects from 10,000 if you do it for a month. Then if you want to go down to 5,000, that's okay. But the only reason you'd have side effects at 10,000 is because you're not also eating enough greens or taking vitamin K2. So there's several kinds of vitamin K2, but the one that seems to be most effective in terms of the research that I read is vitamin K2, and it's micrograms. You'll see it's in micrograms, not milligrams. Vitamin K2 in milligrams is a different product than vitamin K2 in micrograms. This microgram product comes from soy, fermented soy. And people who are allergic to soy don't need to be worried about it because it's not protein. When you're allergic to soy, it's the protein. And you're talking micrograms. We're not talking a whole boil of soy milk or something like that. Soy, by the way, will produce estrogen. And you might think that's a really good thing. Now, fermented soy does have immune support, but taking products that generate that generate estrogen is called external estrogen, exogenous estrogens. Xenoestrogens is what they call them. A xenoestrogen could be eating a food that has soy in it, that has estrogen in it. You could eat a food which has pesticides in it, and the body will think that you're just taking estrogen. And also eating meats that are cheap, that they gave hormones to the animal to fatten them up. So here you got most of the meat people eat today has hormones in it. Most of the vegetables people eat have pesticides in them. And you take those hormones into your body. What will happen is, for a woman's body, when she receives estrogen, it sends a message to her brain that she has plenty of estrogen. Therefore, she no longer needs to make estrogen. And therefore, she doesn't feel the need for support. So automatically, she just has to have that sort of need that have estrogen in them. Or when women eat foods, vegetables that have pesticides in them, pesticides bind on receptor sites, estrogen receptor sites, and send a false message to the brain saying, you've got plenty of estrogen, therefore you don't need to make it. So if you don't need to make estrogen, then you don't feel the need for intimacy. You feel, oh, I don't need someone, I can do it myself. But what's happening is your body isn't getting the benefit of estrogen, just the message, I have plenty of estrogen. So your estrogen levels will be low, and your ability to have orgasm will be inhibited. Your ability to feel the need for sex will be inhibited. The ability to feel the need for love will be inhibited. It will be a good idea, but you don't feel that need as strong as somebody who fasted for 2 days and needs to eat. There's a difference. You know, I'd like to have a guy in my life, and then you'll find that the guys in your life are kind of like, okay, but you don't fall in love with them. There's a place of feeling real deep connection. And deep connection is when you feel a deep need to share who you are, to go deeper. And so what we're getting is very shallow. Many women are just shallow. They're very much in their head. They're worrying. They're not thinking, they're not feeling the deep love and appreciation and gratitude for life. You know, a great role model for gratitude is Oprah. You know, her life is so out there. She has such a strong masculine side. You know, she lives and breathes the need to feel gratitude. You know, you think, why do you have to write out what you're grateful for? You have so much. No, she writes it out. She's very diligent. She knows that, you know, that's her saving grace, is to shift back and say, thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, I feel so blessed by this. Because when you feel gratitude, it's because you feel I need. And when you have so much, it's hard to feel I need. Or when your hormones are being bombarded by all these false hormones, your body's being bombarded by messages, you have plenty of estrogen, you don't feel that need. And so that's where the old-fashioned relationship had different problems. But women definitely felt, I need a man, because culture didn't let you couldn't even have own property, couldn't vote, you know, couldn't make money. And, you know, you kind of look at that and you think, what a heartless society it is. But every time has their benefits and their problems. When I go down into Ecuador, into the jungles, there's no birth control, right? And so it seems like all the women who are at a certain age are all pregnant and they're holding babies and they're feeding babies all the time. And so who has time to like, run the corporation? Although they do the gardening, and the men, they go into the jungle. They have their rules, they have their male roles, their female roles. And when your primary mission in life is survival, making babies and feeding them and keeping safe, that male-female balance was very nice. And then suddenly we have changed. And we are now at a higher state of consciousness, which has, I would feel too constricted if I'm a woman to just be dependent on a man. I want to have that independence. I want to express my talents and gifts in the world. I want to have a mission in the world, not just my family. And that's all beautiful. That's her going to her masculine side. And her challenge now is, if she's on her masculine side, how to come back to her female side, stay balanced. It's like if you're out there working all the time, like I have the great job of traveling around the world. When I come home, it balances being out, and I come home, I'm just so happy to be home. But now I'm home for 3 months. I want to just go out and travel. I want to get out of here. Let me out of this place. So you get this flip side. I'm sort of saying that because I know lots of men say that and feel that, but I don't feel that fully, because I do travel a lot. Every day I go out in my cars, my convertibles. That's one. And two, in my meditation, I can astral travel. So I'm a master meditator. I've done it for 50 years. I teach it, and, you were talking about my credentials. I do relationships and, health and biohacking. I'm a master meditator, and I'm also a master emotional processor. There's a lot of talents along the way. I'm just one of those people that all I do is think, what can I learn now that will help the world? What can I learn now that help the world? That's just my DNA. And, but one of the reasons people who know me say I look better than I've ever looked ever. I'm more alive, I'm happier, more fulfilled, because I have more time to meditate. Meditation, I just wish people could all learn to meditate and get through the hump where you start to really feel good doing it. Many people, it's boring. And particularly for women, and let me just say this for women, another technique to produce estrogen is meditation. And the same kind of technique for men produces testosterone. That's why my testosterone are off the chart, because I have so much time to meditate. Because meditation is the ultimate male recovery. It's forget all your problems. Okay, forget everything, empty the mind. Okay, so that's what I can do very easily. I can just sit for hours. I did 3 hours today. Some days I do 6 hours. It's so easy for me. People, how do you do that? Because energy is flowing through my body. It'd be like, how do you have sex and have it feel so good? That's 50 years of, I'm one of those 50-year meditators, master and so forth. You don't get to experience that right away. This takes training and a lifetime of doing. But when I was in my 20s, I had great experiences. And that's for a man. I learned transcendental meditation and became a transcendental meditation teacher and became a yogi, a celibate, all those things to become master meditator. Now, women, on the other hand, a different kind of meditation works for them, which is the guided meditation. Kind of like you put on some nice, the music is nice, you go online, they have all these people doing guided meditations. So you're listening to nice music, that's relaxing, and you're having somebody tell you what to do. That's a whole secret for women to produce estrogen, is to tell you what to do and you feel, oh, I can follow. I don't have to think, because thinking is very testosterone producing. Feeling, relaxing is very estrogen producing. So dancing, if you have a partner and you can learn old-fashioned dancing, not modern dancing, old-fashioned dancing is where he guides you and he leads you and you get to feel he knows what he's doing. Now, if he's a klutz, it doesn't feel so good. But if you both practice the steps, okay, so he has to learn the steps and then they're his steps, and then you let him guide you, there's a place of flowing. That's kind of an estrogen stimulator. But when you do a guided meditation, like a yoga class, you can do a guided yoga class. I think the best ones for women to take are the ones that actually have a simulated yoga. Other women are on the screen. So you feel you're part of your tribe and you're all doing the movements together. This is also the aerobics classes, those aerobics tapes you can buy online or go online and get, where they're all doing it together and you're part of the group. it's being a part of the group produces safety and security. Depending upon the leader to do something produces estrogen. So these are like big estrogen producers for women that go beyond just learning something. Learning something is something that will take you out of fight or flight. Balancing your hormones as a woman, particularly if you're depending on something to guide you and lead you, to help you, support you in a way that you can't do for yourself. And there's another aspect of having someone do something for you that you can do for yourself, but wouldn't it be nice to not have to do everything? We just go in. That's the very most important message for women who can do it all. Okay, so you can do it all. You got your male side can do all these other things, but wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to do it all, but you could actually have somebody you felt was reliable, you could depend on them, they would be there for you, and you don't have to do it. So I'm underlying this idea that whenever you feel I have to do something myself, you're on your male side. Whenever you're on your female side, you're basically on the part of you that says that I don't have to do it. I get to do it. Okay, I get to do it. I enjoy doing it. I don't have to do it. That's your females. These are all like feelings that happen. So the idea here is you want to get used to knowing, okay, where's my male energy? Like put your energy on one side of the body and put the energy on the other side of your body. You want to know where you are at. And how to find your balance, you have to know where to go. If you don't know left and right, you can't have directions. You just got to know that. And the idea that we don't have masculine and feminine is nonsense, complete nonsense. Of course we do. And it's just a way of denying what is real, is that we have these differences, different parts of us. And yes, we've got controlling parts of us. We've got friendly parts of us. We've got teacher parts of us, many hats we wear. But all those hats have a gender. You're either on your male side or your female side. And if you're stressed and you're a woman, generally today, in our world today, you're too far on your male side. It's if you can be stressed by being too far on your female side. Okay, anytime it's too much of any good thing is too much. Okay, so if you were like the princess of Japan, a lovely woman who is very happy in her life, and then she marries the prince and becomes the princess, now she's taking antidepressants. Why? Because she doesn't have to do anything. She just has everyone do things for her. So if you're a princess and everybody does everything for you, then your male side gets very weak and you're too much of your female side. And if you go back to the Greek days where the word hysterical came from, hysteria was a disease that, women would get. And it was only the rich women that would get it. The women out there who are like, gardening, working in the fields, whatever, they were never depressed. They didn't have divorces and problems. They all have their levels of consciousness. They squabble like happy monkeys, but they're the higher consciousness women. They had these men who were powerful, often extremely corrupt because they were too far on their male side. See, if you go too far on your male side, you don't get angry about things, but you don't get upset about things. You just think about yourself all the time. So too much on your male side. And now we have leaders who are too much on their male side, and then they go to too much on their female side, and they go too much on their male side. This is bipolar, crazy world we live in today. And crazy is out of balance or swinging from one side to the other. And it's easier now to be crazy or to be out of balance because we have access to both sides of us. And unfortunately, we're going through a transition, but the culture almost shames women who want to be more feminine. And the culture shames men who have more traditional masculine qualities. It's if I want to go to the bar and drink beer with my friends, I'm not a conscious person. I'm not an enlightened person if I just want to go laugh and make jokes with my guy friends and drink beer, waste time, play games. It's things men used to do. Now you're not a good guy if you do it. And I think when the practical thing I see is if a man detaches from his wife to do what he wants to do and doesn't let her control him, then he's seen as an unloving man. But part of masculinity, our masculine side, is nobody tells me what to do. It's like Donald Trump's masculine side is saying, I'm not going to wear this mask because I don't look good. He even said that. You don't look presidential if you're wearing a mask. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. I can relate to that, as a guy. The truth is, I care about other people, so I wear the mask. I have no concern to wear a mask for myself. I said, I'm healthy. It doesn't, and I'm not sick. I'm not spreading anything. I've already been through it, by the way. I was in Wuhan in December. So I lived there. I teach a lot in China. And so when I came back, I had a flu. Had all the symptoms of corona for a healthy person, which is no big deal. It's just a flu. That's all it is. 0.1% of people are dying. 0.1% of people die of the flu season. It just was so accelerated. It took us off guard, as opposed to sort of slowly going through the society.
Yeah.
And, if you look at that ship that landed in San Francisco, you remember the first ship that came from China, the cruise ship, everybody on the ship practically had COVID, but nobody died.
Yeah. No,
it's not going to kill everybody. We've blown this out of proportion. Oh my God. We love to just, what is blowing everything, false evidence appearing real. It's just that this is the worst pandemic we've ever had. No, it's not. It's not the Spanish flu. It was overwhelming in a few states for particularly there are people who are vulnerable to it. There's no doubt about it. And it kills them very quickly. And we know who they are. And in Wuhan, they did the study on this. And this is people who have, they have low cholesterol. If you have low cholesterol, generally, if you're taking statin drugs, you're a goner. People were responsible and looked at their statistics. Everybody who's dying, almost everybody, and they don't show you these clear statistics, is on statin drugs. And also they're on beta blockers, which is hypertension, and statins will lower the cholesterol levels. Cholesterol is necessary for every function in the body. We need more cholesterol. And there's no statistical analysis that says that high cholesterol causes heart disease. Statistics show that half the people who die of heart disease have high cholesterol and half do not. They actually have lower cholesterol. So if you have high and low and you have heart attacks, you don't have any statistical analysis. Also in Europe, where they did testing of anybody who's lived beyond 70 years old, they have high cholesterol. You have to have high cholesterol to live a long life. Now, oxidized cholesterol is something else. We have oxidized cholesterol is a symptom of high stress levels. If you have high cortisol levels in your body or cortisol burnout. See, some people don't test high on cortisol because they're burnt out. Their adrenals just aren't working. In either case, high cortisol or low cortisol due to being burnt out, what that causes is hormonal imbalance, low testosterone in men and low estrogen levels in women. Now, we say the normal phenomena in society is that as at 35, men's testosterone levels go down, and then they're half of what they were when they're 50. Now that's our society. Those are just averages. So they say that's normal. It's not normal. It's not normal. Mine are higher than when I was younger. That's normal. Is wisdom. If you have wisdom in your life, that produces testosterone. My life is filled with wisdom. I'm a can-do guy. I can do it. Whenever you're stressed and you're a man, it's because you feel like I can't do it. If you feel like I can handle this, I can do this. If we all have this problem, what are we going to do? I'm a can-do guy. There's this role model for me at one point in my life. I remember I just had this sort of, in your life, you have these sort of satori experiences, enlightenment moments. Okay, I'm a young guy, so I'm having an enlightenment moment when awakening of my masculine power. It was looking at the naked statue of David. Okay, in Italy, there's the famous statue of David, and he slayed the giant. And the way he's standing, he's this naked guy, and he's holding his slingshot or his rock in his hand, and he's basically sizing up the giant, and he says, basically, I can do this. It's that moment, I can do this. See, I can do it right now. I feel tingling energy all through my body. It's the power, I can do this. And whenever we're in the place of I can't do this, you lose the power. Now for a man, that's his power source. Woman can go, I can do this, it feels good. But for a man, that's his body this lifetime. I have a male body. It's required for me to make 10 to 30 times more testosterone than a woman in order to feel happy and fulfilled. Period. And that's true. And for women, her body's required to make at least 10 times more estrogen to be happy. And to be happier, to be orgasmic, she needs to have 20 times more estrogen than a man. She needs to feel, he's my man, he can do it. I don't have to do it. So when I remember teaching romance to my wife. And, she said, I want you to be romantic. And then, I'd open the door for her and she kind of like, I can do that. I said, hold on. See, romance is me doing things for you that, yes, you could do, but you don't have to do. I'm going to do it for you because I want to. So I opened we were rushing around in our daily life. I didn't always open up the car door for her. But particularly on a romantic date, I will go to the car door and open the door. And I say there, now, honey, I know you can open the door by yourself, but you do so much for so many people. So tonight, let me do things for you. And then she'd go, oh, okay. Now, after 10 years, if I forgot that, she'd stand by the door and wait. She'd just be smiling. I'd be going over to my side of the car, and she'd be standing by her door, wait. I go, oh, that's all right. I'd run back around. Tonight is for you, honey. And also when I drive the car, these are like little things that make a big difference. And that is, I'm thinking about the time now, and I know you wanted to ask questions, but you're enjoying my talk so much. I'm just talking to you. Was there a question? We'll go with the question.
Yeah, I think we have one. We can probably have time for one question, and then we'll cut it, and then we can have questions. And the next time we all get together. The question was, let's see, what if the man is the type who likes to talk to connect, and the woman is the more logical type, enjoying her alone time? Any advice to the woman on how to navigate in this situation?
I really appreciate that question. I can address it better when it comes from a question. His wanting to talk drives you into your cave. His wanting to talk pushes you into your male side. When he's talking, he's going to his female side that pushes you into your male side. And maybe you going into your male side also pushes him into talking. It can be either way. It's kind of a chicken or egg thing. The chicken causes the egg, but where did the chicken come from? It came from an egg. So there's an interdependence there. So what I would say is, if you're asking me the question, what if you're not having regular sex or feeling the passion you felt in the beginning and you would like to, or if you're not feeling that attraction that you felt towards the beginning and you would like to, then there's a problem that you want to solve. Because I didn't hear a problem that you want to solve. You just said, what if he likes to talk a lot and I like my cave? Well, if that's all working for you, that's working for you. So I have no issue with that. All I know is that I'm the problem solver. So if there's a problem, and the problem would be you're not feeling happy, or you're feeling stressed, you're not feeling as fulfilled in your relationship as you would like to, here's something to try. And that would be to consciously and willfully shift the role reversal. And you can do this in the same way that if you ate too much sugar, you could shift to eating more xylitol, say, and then having more fruits as opposed to processed refined sugar. Okay, so the transition you'd make, but to make that transition, you'd have to say, okay, I have willpower to do it. It doesn't feel natural. Eating junk food feels so natural. Yelling and screaming, also for couples who do that, it feels so natural. It feels so authentic. Oh, I have to be myself. And for the person who murders others, he's just being real. This is, we're all like justify everything because being out of balance feels natural. It's just, and also going back into balance always feels unnatural until you're in balance. Okay. So what I'm suggesting, if there's a problem and you want more intimacy, lasting passion, and love in your relationship, and you see that you're experiencing a lack of, then the solution would then be to use willpower and do what's not natural. And also continue doing your cave time thing if you wish, and he's talking a lot. But when he talks a lot, don't show interest. Quickly and gently get distracted. Or simply, what you do is you practice matching everything he has to say. So this is another thing you can do. He said, oh, this, and you say, oh, that's a good idea. See, there's three things. When men are talking, they're going too far to their female side. So you want to bring him back to his masculine side, pump up his testosterone a bit, give him a dose. How do you do that? Well, if he's talking more than you, as soon as he's talking more than you, then you listen a little and you say, oh, that makes sense. It reminds me of, and tell a story. You need to overcome your fear of revealing your life and tell a story of what happened today, a story of what he said reminded you. You have to tell your story of today. And if, we're all storytellers deep inside. We get shut down because people make us wrong or try to correct us or tell us we should do things differently when our stories are problems. So actually, for women who tend to take time alone, their biggest problem is they don't want to tell people their problems. They want to keep it all secret. And they have a million reasons why they should, but the bottom line is there's a concern that if you were to tell your story, what's going on inside of you, somebody might disapprove of you, somebody might reject you, somebody might think less of you. I have a female side. I remember when I was young, I didn't want to go to parties. I thought I was an introvert, and turns out I'm both. I love being with people and I love being alone. But why was I an introvert? I didn't want to be with other people. I'd ask myself, if you asked me on the surface, I'd say, oh, I just don't like going to parties. I like hanging out at home, watching TV. And then I said, why don't I like it? I said, why just don't like it? I said, well, go a little deeper. What would you feel if you did if you did go to the party? And I said, oh, well, I'm afraid that I might say something and people would think less of me. That was one of the things. There's a lot of things. It could be somebody, you get in a conversation with somebody, you don't know how to leave it. And you don't want to be rude. So a lot of issues for people when they don't want to be around other people. What are you afraid of? So you look at, what am I afraid of? Well, I was just afraid of losing love. Is that if I show up and say things, people won't think I have something of value to say. That was another fear, is I wouldn't know what to say. I didn't know how to do small talk. I don't know how to talk to strangers. So anyway, I had to overcome. When I became aware of those fears, then I realized, oh, well, I can overcome that. So if you start to talk, you need to talk more. So what I'm saying is that if you have a problem, you have a deficiency of lithium, you have a deficiency of vitamin, you have a deficiency of something, B vitamins, you need to take those. So you take it in a pill. Okay, you should take that in a pill. But I'm giving a behavioral vitamin. You need to talk more about what you're feeling that you wouldn't want to tell anybody in the world, anything you're embarrassed about feeling. So you have to look inside and see what you're feeling that you would be embarrassed to share with others. Those are your most intimate feelings. And you can even start in your past. As soon as he starts to talk, you say, oh, that makes sense. This is how you can get a guy to stop talking. The phrase, you don't want to say, stop talking. He's in his female side. That would be so hurtful. He's in his sensitive side. Don't you care about my feelings? So you don't want to say that. You would get him back to his male side by just saying, well, that's very interesting. That makes sense to me. Pause and start talking. That reminds me, you can do another one. And this is a really good one. And now I'm going to teach you the technique of COVID technique I developed, but I'll finish this point. You say, that reminds me, I still have to do this. Would you help me? As soon as he starts to talk, that makes sense. What did you say then? And he said something. He said, oh, that was a good idea. And then say, oh, that reminds me, I still need to do this. Will you help me? Another one is he's talking, he says something, and you pause and go, oh, you're right. Those are three things to shut a guy up, okay? That makes sense. Good idea. You're right. That's all he's talking to be. Every guy, you hear these guys talking a lot. They start feeling disconnected from the audience. They say, does that make sense to everybody? Does that make sense? You got it? If you're in church, give me a Jesus, whatever they say. Praise the Lord. Let's praise the Lord. Give me some reaction. Give me something. Okay. So he needs a little something. Otherwise, he's just going to run. So bump up his testosterone. He did a good job. You say, you're right. That makes sense. What's the other one? You're right. That makes sense. I don't even remember what I just said. Good idea.
Good idea.
Good idea.
Good
Yeah,
idea.
well, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, why do you think that happened? Also ask him questions. One question is okay. Why do you think? Get it, particularly it's deadly to ask a guy, what do you feel? And then what did you feel? Now you're in therapy session. Oh my God, don't do that. Don't do that. He becomes a woman if you go into therapy session with him. So, but you don't want to hurt his gentle feelings. So that makes sense. That's a good idea. And that reminds me, will you help me? Get him to do something with you. Doing. That will help put his masculine energy into place. Another one is that reminds me, I was so upset today because, or I did the silliest thing today, or I am so angry still at this person, or somebody said this and I thought they're just being awful. Tell a story that reveals your negative side that you wouldn't normally want anybody to see because you're such a positive person. Okay. Now, having said all that, now I want to talk to everybody, which is supercharge those female hormones. That's one example of how she can get back to her female side. One example to keep him from on his female side. So how to supercharge his testosterone and supercharge her estrogen. Now, ultimately, somebody could say, well, just go have great sex. But you can't just suddenly go have great sex until your hormones are supercharged. I supercharge almost every day with great sex. Okay, that's what happens when a man has healthy testosterone levels and good relationship. It's not realistic for every guy to do that. I get that. They're stressed and whatever. So here's what you do in this game. It's great foreplay, but also leave sex out of the whole thing. Just how to have more love and happiness together. It's called Genie in a Bottle. Now, this is a 20-minute game that you play as a couple. And every man wants to be powerful, right? We want to feel like I can make a difference. Well, Genie's all powerful. So he's the genie and she rubs the genie and he comes up. Now, what is rubbing in this game? Asking for help. There's nothing more feminine than asking for help and anticipating that you're going to get it. That's going to be your major supercharger of estrogen. So for 20 minutes, women, you can't do anything you have to do. You can't do anything. You have to depend on him for everything. If you want to eat, he's got to feed you. He's got to cook for you. If you want to relax, he's got to massage your feet. He's got to run errands for you. But you want to do errands in the house because you don't want to use up your 20 minutes too fast with just one thing. It turns out when it comes to recharging estrogen, little things have the same effect as big things. So I could give my wife on a romantic date, Valentine's, I can give her 50 roses. She'll have an estrogen spike. I can give her one gardenia and she'll have the same estrogen spike. Little things can have the same powerful effect as big things if they're acts of love, particularly if her estrogen levels are growing. Now, if a woman has very low estrogen levels, little things have little effect, big things have little effect. But you do a lot of little things, each one is like scoring a point, another point, another point. It gets higher and higher and higher. She needs, in a period of time, many stimulants, a lot of stimulation to pump up the estrogen. And the higher it goes, it sort of compounds estrogen, because when her estrogen levels are like at 20, when a woman's estrogen is 10 times higher than a man, he doesn't have to do much. And she feels, oh, how sweet. Oh, how wonderful. Oh, I love that. Oh, I'm so lucky to be with you. Oh, you're the best, which then bumps his testosterone up. Now he wants to do more stuff. His interest in you grows and that knocks your estrogen up. That's a romantic date, but you've got to have your threshold to get to. This will help you charge up to that threshold. So then after 5 minutes even, then you'll really enjoy the game. If you're out of balance, you won't enjoy the game in the beginning. You have to fake it. Fake it till you make it. Pretend. Because even when you pretend, your subconscious brain doesn't know you're pretending. Just like porn is all pretense. It's not real. It makes men's testosterone goes up and it crashes down. It depletes them of life force energy. So what happens with this game is literally, she can't ask him to do anything that can't be done within 20 minutes during that time. And her objective is to ask for as many little things. Practice saying, oh, would you do this? Oh, John, would you do this? And he needs to behave, because men don't have many role models of genies except in the movies. So here's a really good role model is, imagine you're in first class and you have a flight attendant. I travel all the time, first class, and this is how they behave. Oh, Mr. Gray, can I do something for you? Oh, what can I do? We're so happy to have you here. Whatever you wish, happy to fulfill. Anything you need, give me a call. I'm right here for you. Oh, be delighted. Can I fix that pillow for you? Can I make the bed for you now? Be happy to serve you. Now, the only thing the flight attendant knows to do is they offer. This genie is not so smart. He's not going to offer anything. You have to ask for everything. So as you ask, then he will always respond immediately, immediate and a pleasurable. I'm delighted to do that. I'm happy to do that. That will be my pleasure to do that. And you smile and you, oh, thank you. Oh, I feel so good. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Oh, thank you. All this sweetness, you're literally letting yourself beginning to feel he's doing something that you appreciate. And you do this for 20 minutes. It just pumps the charges up, the hormones. And then what I suggest is then you sort of take some time apart. That's one thing, to do your own thing now, to be happy on your own. Or you take it a step further. So you could play this game before you go to bed, and you might take it a step forward, and it would be great sex. But some couples are not having sex, and that's too much of an advanced stage to get to. But this would provide the foundation for that physical intimacy to again happen. And a little word on physical intimacy. It's always goes as our hormones go out of balance. As men go more to their female, women go to their male. He just doesn't have the testosterone he had. Women don't have the estrogen she had. And a lot of women I know are listening who are already through menopause. And in that case, they go, well, what about us? We don't have the estrogen. I go, not because you're in menopause. Menopause just means you don't have eggs. But your body has adrenal glands. And if you're not stressed out, those adrenal glands will make just enough estrogen for you to have orgasms the rest of your life. I know several women in their 80s who have regular orgasms. Okay, so it's not that, and they went through menopause and the whole thing. It's that they have a lifestyle that supports them and a mindset that allows them to feel I can depend on men and I get men to do things for me. And that's, you know, that's the possibility that exists. It's not happening for a lot of women today because before they get to menopause, the adrenal gland's exhausted. It's been producing all this cortisol, all this stress. But every part of the body, if it's not too far gone, you can heal it through doing the right thing. And so this is playing the game, 20 minutes, where this person will do this for you. It's just delightful. And that's my gift to everybody. And it's a gift to me too, because it's really made this time very fun for me.
That's wonderful. Thank you. That's a really good practical tip. Especially because I think a lot of women, I mean, I for one can also say that I feel sometimes I'm much more in my masculine than in my feminine. And there is an element of, I don't know, whether it's society or, you know, there's so many different factors where that has been the case for myself and my girlfriends. So that's really helpful. Thank you, John. And I noticed that we have about 3 minutes left. So just as we wrap up, one, just thank you. This has been tremendous. And I know that we've completely gone over time. So thank you for giving us an extra half hour of your time. We will have another chat with you, right?
Yes.
So we're planning on having a couple of more sessions like this. We have one scheduled coming up in June 21st. So on that one, I think we were going to make it as the topic of women's hormones, specifically hormones.
Yeah. We can go into actually biohacking on a physical level, women's hormones. I've got a lot to say on that. Today, it was the biohacking was with stress management. Mm-hmm. And with stress management, if I can summarize what I said, and you can also go to marsvenus.com and I have videos to remind you on how to use these things. But the minerals, the alkalizing minerals for the brain. And I formulated a product which combines all those minerals together when I learned this. And it was, I used to tell people, take this. So there's a product there which is called Super Minerals for Women. Mm-hmm. And it's a balance which has more magnesium for women. The lithium levels are there. And men have a balance. They just have more zinc because zinc is also used to make testosterone. So that's available for women. Also, I want women to know that when you're under stress, it's very hard for your body to digest food. So what you want to do is there's so many different ways to get this, but digestive enzymes, even if you feel you digest fine, if you're under stress, digestive enzymes are so helpful at this time. A lot of women, and not everybody does this. I did it. I do it, but have a superfood shake in the morning.
Mhm.
Often that's a nice way to keep the calories down. But I found it's a nice way to lower stress in the brain. Because for me, 20 years ago, I had early stage Parkinson's, which was desensitized dopamine receptors in the brain.
Yep.
So I formulated a superfood shake called Mars Venus Superfood Shake. And what it has is it's dairy protein.
1 minute left. We have 1 minute left.
Okay, dairy protein, and the balance that would be mother's milk, equal amounts of casein and whey protein, pre-digested. So you put enzymes in your protein mix and let it sit for 30 minutes. It digests itself, and drink it. It goes straight to your brain.
Huh.
And that you can also find out about on the site, because it makes it so easy to get those amino acids into your brain to work with the minerals to make the stress reducing brain chemicals.
Oh, it's perfect. Okay. Thank you. I noticed you have an amazing book as well online. So if you go to marsvenus.com, there's, I think it's like 300 pages or so of incredible supplements. So go there, guys.
Check out Mars.
Check that out.
Hey, also there's a free class, 4-day class. People can go to marsvenus.com and sign up right there on the front page, and it's free.
Perfect. Well, I think we're going to be about to be cut off. So thank you for your time, and we'll see you soon.
I look forward to it.
Enjoy your Memorial Day. Bye, everyone.